Today is day 514. We're looking at the Birmingham, Alabama market today. And today, what we're looking for is properties that are coming onto the market. And let me show you what I'm filtered on. I'm looking for properties that are 5 bedroom plus, single family homes, and have been on Redfin for less than 3 days. And what I found here was this property 1452 Frida Drive, Birmingham, Alabama 35228. And I can see right here that it's listed for 149,900. It's a 5 bed, 2 bath, 2196 square feet. Now, the reason I'm interested in this property is because it's a 5 bedroom property. You don't see 5 bedroom properties that often. And most importantly, I want to see what this property sells for. Because from a condition perspective, it looks okay. I mean, these pictures are taken at awkward angles, to be honest with you. The flooring looks okay. I mean, you don't have to do that much work. It's not that much carpet. I mean, this one just looks really orange. I mean, I would definitely fix it to change it to a brighter light or something like that. This flooring could probably go, looks a little nasty right there. But for the most part, you could say it's rental grade, right? So you could probably paint the whole place, do floor work and maybe a third of the home. But this property isn't in too bad of a shape, even though you could say, hey, you can probably modernize it. So I want to put these properties down because when I look for the BRRRR strategy, right, and I'm looking at a certain square footage and I see a potential to convert a property from a 2 or 3 bedroom to a 5 bedroom, I want to see what's the potential value of the home after I renovate the property. And I do that by looking at properties that are being sold by zip code, by bedroom count, in every single zip code, and in whatever market you choose. And even following what we've been doing, right? We've been capturing all the details from the properties that were sold in the last 12 months, the last 3 months, and now we're also capturing the details of properties that are coming onto the market within the last 30 days. 35228. So let's go ahead and plug this new one in. 35228. Great. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to note down all the details because think about it, right? Why do you want these details? If you're going after the BRRRR strategy, which stands for buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat, what you're looking to do is figure out, okay, let's say I buy a property for $20,000, 20, and I spend $50,000 renovating. So you're all in now at $70,000, right? 20 to buy, 50 to renovate. And that's how you figure out what you would do with that property. Because if you can make that property worth 100 grand, right now you can go and get a loan for 70% of the home's value. Take the $70,000 out, assuming that property is worth $100,000, and use the same 70 grand you originally invested in, and do it all over again. You can rinse and repeat the cycle over and over again, right? So, if that is the case, then what do you need to do? Well, what is that strategy heavily dependent on? It's heavily dependent on you getting the ARV correct, right? Because if you don't get it right, and that home is worth $80,000 instead of 100 grand, well, then you got to start leaving more money in there than you expected. And now that slows down the velocity of your capital that you're leaving in the deal. Because what's the alternative? The alternative would have been you saving money from your full time job towards a 20%, 25% down payment, hoping that deal either cash flows or appreciates, and then do it all over again. And that's why it's a lot slower strategy because you're saving up all that money for the next 20% down payment instead of you reusing the same pile of cash over and over like you saw with the BRRRR strategy. So again, what is that strategy heavily dependent on? Well, it's heavily dependent on you getting your ARV correctly. So I'm going to look at this property and I'll write down all these details because what's a perfect comp? Perfect comp is if you see another house right next to it, same square footage, same lot size, same bed bath count, same year build, same type of finish, or same condition. That would be a perfect comp. But it's rare. It's rare that you ever get there because you are in a market that's very street by street And when you go across man-made borders such as I-20 or natural borders such as these creeks, you're in completely different neighborhoods. And sometimes you don't see five-bedroom properties that often. So as you get further and further away from your subject property that you're buying in cash and renovating, the risk of your ARV being incorrect goes higher. So when you ever go to get your loan refinanced, I mean, what is the chance of you getting the ARV incorrect? Or if the lender doesn't, or if the lender's appraiser doesn't give you the value you're looking for, how are you going to challenge that appraisal? How are you going to do it? Okay. All right. So that's why we're noting down all these details and just noting down some conditions of this home. So this property was listed 2 days ago. So listed 222, 25. Let's get the lot size from here. Lot size is 0.32 acres. 0.32 acres. Is there a garage on this property? Yes, one car. Yes, one car. Yes, there's a basement. No HOA. Let's see what subdivision it's in. I'm just going to click on this map and zoom out. And this looks like it's in West Fairfield. So West Fairfield. And I would say older, non-renovated kitchen and bathrooms. Flooring looks okay. Could be replaced in a third of the home and needs a fresh coat of paint due to poor photos. So that's what I gotta write in there. Now, if I look at this property, it's a 5 bed, 3 bath, 2607 square feet. Let's see if that property sold. This property is sold at 175 now. Let's see what it was listed for. 175. It was contingent on 130 for 175K. Contingent on 130.25 at 175. So if this property sold for $67 a square foot, then that gives me a pretty good reason that this property being listed at $68 per square foot will have a chance of being sold at that price. But we'll see because I want to see what the closed price is on this property. Okay. So this now tells me, hey, if I want to be all in on a property looking for the BRRRR strategy, my then I gotta look for $67 a square foot. So if you do 70% of that, right? 70% of $67 per square foot, then whatever property I buy and renovate, I want to be all in roughly around $46.90 a square foot to increase my chances of a perfect BRRRR, which means I get take back out all the capital and apply it towards my next deal, right? But that I know is my ceiling. So now I can start working backwards on what is a deal and what type of offers am I willing to make on a property with similar square footage in the zip code if I'm targeting the same or similar bed bath count. All right. So let's go ahead and analyze this deal as is. So this property was listed for 149,900. Right. Yep. Let me calculate the rehab. So for the rehab on this property, I'm assuming the roof is in good shape, but I'm gonna leave aside 1,500 bucks for the roof repairs. I got 500 bucks for some landscaping expenses. Then I got a whole house paint job, 2196, spruce it up. I got LVP replacement in about third of the home, so it goes 2196 divided by 3. And then my bathroom, I'm gonna do one whole bathroom renovation for just one of the bathrooms that I saw just pretty ugly in the photo. I'm gonna put in a cage for the HVAC system to make sure it doesn't get stolen. So that gives me a total rehab of about $29,000. Okay. Now for my monthly income rents, if I go to affordablehousing.com and I go to the owner section and I go to the market rent estimator and I plug in the address, plug in a bedroom count, I can see for 5 bedrooms, the average rent is 2,100. I think that's really, really high, to be honest with you. And I don't really believe that number because the radius is over 9 miles. Okay. That's a really, really wide range. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, okay, how do I 35228? Let me look at the home that's available for rent here. That's 5 bedroom plus. Let me remove this boundary and see if I see any properties around here. Now, there wasn't any in the zip code that I'm in, but I'm gonna start looking at properties that are listed for 5 bedrooms. So this property is listed for 1450, 5 bed, 2 bath. And I would argue that this property is in a better condition than the home I'm looking at. even though this is slightly smaller at 1688 square foot, 500 square feet smaller, 1450 won't be available for long, but it's been on the Zillow for 50 days and there's only been 22 contacts. So this tells me that this property might be overpriced or something that they don't like about it, because for my rule of thumb is that for every day it's on the market, it should get at least one contact for this to be a healthy or properly priced market deal. This tells me this is overpriced because you're not getting it, and even though it's only 1450, so this doesn't give me confidence I can get 2100 for rents when this thing listed for 1450 aren't getting any attention. So let me go around looking around the other places. This is a 5 bed, 1 bath, 17 in Fairfield, 1700 square feet, 1500 square feet, 6 days, 3 contacts. Great. So this might still be high. So 1500. So I'm seeing all these properties that are being listed for 1400, 6 days on Zillow, 58 contacts. Great. So now this property is in high demand. So 1400 seems like it's the right number because this only been on Zillow for 6 days and there has been 58 contacts. And this property is, wow, it's pretty nice. I mean, it's rent ready. I mean, they did a decent job renovating the entire home. I mean, solid home. So I can see why it's in more demand here. So now that I see that, how about this property for 1450? 27 days, 5 contacts. For some reason, people don't like this neighborhood. Okay, maybe because there's no good photos. So all in all, I'm seeing 1400, 1450, 1500. So I'll probably put 1450 just I'm right in the middle point, based on the comps that I saw with how we just browse this market just now for a 5 bedroom, because 5 bedroom properties are just a little bit more rare, right? So for you to build some confidence, I don't see it getting 2100 because you saw this property for 1450 and it's not getting any attention. So why would your 2100 get more attention than something that's $700 less, right? Unless you're in a really terrible neighborhood. But this is me being conservative. Okay. Then for my taxes, I'm gonna take that right from my payment calculator, which says $59 for taxes. So I'll put that right here. That seems a little low, to be honest. And homeowner insurance of 116. So I'll do 116 times 1.2, and that gives me a 139.2. I'm adding a 20% premium because I'm assuming when you use it as an investment property, it's a riskier asset to an insurance company. So they're going to charge you more premium. So that's why I took this 116, because I'm assuming that 116 number is for someone that's going to live in there as primary residence instead of an investment property. Then I got 10% of my rent set aside for maintenance, capex, future replacements. I know that roof is going to get replaced at some point. Saving for my property management and saving for my vacancy expenses. Okay. Next thing up, I'm gonna put 25% down on this property in F19. So my down payment is going to be equals to my B4, which is my asking price, times my down payment percentage. So I'll put 37.5K. My financing amount is going to be equals to B4 minus E19, which means I'll be financing $112,000 at 7.5%. Okay. So if I assume all these criteria, this approach works, right? And I'm renting out as a 5 bedroom for 1450. I can cash flow 103 a month. And that's a 1.8% return on your capital, assuming you bought this property for 149,900 with a $29,000 rehab, 25% down, and 7.5% interest rate. Now, let's do one scenario. Let's do two more scenarios. One is, what if my target return is 10%? What do I need to lower my asking price by in B4 in order to achieve that target return of 10%? If I go to 100 grand, great. 90 grand, 85. Great. So I need to buy this property for $85,000, right? Assuming I have a $30,000 rehab on this property, 29K to be exact, with 75% interest rate, in order for me to cash flow 10.1% return on my capital and cash flow 444 a month. Now, I'm not saying 10% is a magical number. This is not investment advice. I'm not soliciting any investments on this call. Just simply showing you all how to tactically put in the details on a spreadsheet to achieve the return that you're looking for yourself based on your criteria. And only you can decide what that criteria looks like, because some people, they might just want to buy a home for $1 million in Southern California and just try to not lose any money on cash flow, because they say, hey, if I make just 5% appreciation on my house in the next year, I mean, that's $50,000. Who cares about a couple $100 of cash flow a month, right? It's a different strategy, different way of building wealth, but to each their own. Now, one more thing why you gotta pay attention to prices. Well, if you understand how the 10-year, how 30-year mortgage interest rates are impacted by the 10-year yield, the 30-year mortgage interest rates in the US is primarily driven by a couple of factors. One of them is the fact that your 30-year mortgage interest rate is affected by two things. One is the actual interest rate on the 10-year treasury yield, which sits at 4.398, down from its highs of 4.8 just a month ago, and the spread between the 10-year yield and the 30-year mortgage interest rates. Historically, that spread has been about 1.5 to 2%, but we've seen it as high as 3%. And that's when we saw interest rates in the eights, and that's when the whole housing market essentially came to a stop. So when you have 3.6, right, in September and October, right, let's say you're refinancing today and you're looking at sold properties for your ARV estimates, which is what your lender appraiser is going to look for. Well, it's 3.6 a couple months ago. And properties were sold then. That means with the interest rates are lower, your monthly payment is lower. So it drives up affordability and drives up the prices of your properties that you're willing to pay for. Versus today, if you're buying a property today in cash, with interest rates as high as they are, your properties are going to have higher interest rates that are closing today, right? They're going to have higher interest rates, which means a higher monthly payment that drives down your affordability and drives down your prices. So that creates additional risk for you, right? Especially if you're looking to buy a property today and refinance in 3 to 6 months from now. That appraiser might be looking at properties that are being sold today and closing today for your ARV estimates. And that's the principle that you want to have down. Okay. Because look at this. If I lower my interest rate from 7.5% to 6%, right? See what happened to my cash on cash return? It jumped up by like 1.5 points. So now I might be willing to pay $95,000. Oh, before it's 85, sorry. I'm willing to pay $95,000 instead of $85,000 just because my interest rates drop 1.5 points, assuming else everything else stays constant, right? 5 bedroom, 1450, and now I can cash for 462 a month with a 10% return. And that's what you want to understand and go through the exercise in your head. Because same thing, if you double your rehab, what does that do to your numbers? And you got to adjust accordingly everything else. And that's how you take emotions out of the deal. All right. Hopefully this was helpful, everybody. My goal is this: you copy my homework today, right? Analyze the same deal I analyzed today using the same spreadsheet. I didn't make this spreadsheet from scratch, so just go to affordablehousing.io, go to the get deal analysis tool, plug in your name, email your phone number. That's the fastest for you to get a copy of the spreadsheet. I didn't make this spreadsheet from scratch, right? I got it from a few other folks. I modified, I tweaked it so that I can analyze these deals as fast as possible, especially the rehab numbers. Those are going to be very different for every single property that you look at and every single market you look at. But you can refine them as you get those estimates, all right? So I hope you all have an amazing Monday. Spend some quality time with your family and friends today because that's what life is all about. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 515. Have a good one, everybody.